When we ask ourselves questions such as why are we here and what is the purpose of existence, the answer always remains open for discussion and we can never truly establish an answer. In the broadest form, the meaning of life, or one example of the answer to our question, refers to the significance of living or existence in general. Many people throughout the years propose the answer to the question, people who come from multiple cultural and ideological backgrounds. My research question incorporates the desire to consider multiple beliefs and diverse perspectives of Catholic and community viewpoints. I am able to respond to our research question by conducting primary and secondary research that consolidates back to what I want to understand in this topic. Throughout the course of our topic, The Search of Meaning, we have studied, viewed, listened to, and debated about the meaning of life and gathered a more complex understanding of what people consider to truly define their reason of opinion. As an individual, I can correlate to the significance of this topic with the utmost respect as we as young adults at this age start to question ourselves about the meaning of life and how we are supposed to view life through our Catholic perspective. For my interviews, I've questioned 3 contrasting people and have given them a series of 3 personal questions to be answered. These questions were based on how their lifestyle and their beliefs impact the definition of the meaning of life. The people who I've interviewed consist of an individual from another generation, someone from my own household, and a local from my community. After conducting my interviews, I've gathered a diverse summary of findings in which each individual spoke from their hearts and told me their ways of understanding the concept of life. This was a successful investigation where I had the interviewees share a range of personal feelings and their adaptation towards considering their religion. To depict the most moving responses from my first interviewee, he had corresponded with more of an emotional and religious perspective, specifying, "Considering I was brought up in the church, the way that I perceive the way meaning of life is based upon being surrounded by your family and giving high respect to your elders. I am a devoted Catholic who throughout my life has attended church, therefore I have developed values and specific standards and beliefs that I must abide by through my life. I was brought up in a communist country during World War II, hence why I couldn't express myself or agree with what certain more debatable topics are brought across now. A common statement that I tell my children and my grandchildren is that there are only 2 important things in life, and that is your family and their health as well as yours. If others were to say that life is about being comfortable and changing who you want to be, considering how I grew up, this is not a standard belief that I could support. Through my values, standards, beliefs, and my history, I've become emotional when addressing this topic as I know better than anyone in my family how lucky we are to be surrounded by each other and to be able to be surrounded by the love and care of your relatives." My second interviewee shared her ideas towards the meaning of life that summarized. "I was raised in a very strict religious family where my lifestyle gives me the ability to consider how being loved by God will enable you to love others. So when I question myself about how I define the meaning of life, I believe that many things need to be considered. This involves where you aspire to be in life, how you want to define yourself, and whether or not your faith is a part of you through your spiritual connections in the way you act. Even though I've been raised to believe that the most important things in life are your family and health, I believe that life is not worth living if you are unable to express yourself and be happy in who you are. I teach my children the importance of accepting who they are and where they come from to be a significant trait that they possess. My individual understanding on the meaning of life is to ensure that you pursue a truthful, honest, and happy life at whatever age you are and where you are. I tend to encourage my children with the assistance of videos that teenagers should watch, as they are inspirational about what is considered a friendship, how to manage our emotions, and how to believe in ourselves, and how to manage a technology-free life." My third interviewee, when being asked this question, responded with a detailed expression of his thoughts, implying, "My standards of God define how believing in Him relates to more of a personal belief rather than an expressed belief that God is the Almighty and we look up to Him. I believe that God is located in your heart and therefore God is the most purest part of your soul. I devote myself to respect God through my heart as I interpret my religion to be a personal connection and less of a community sharing. With the technology that we have today, as well as the environment we now live in, is prevalent and our opinions on how the Bible is perceived has changed. I like to read the Bible to truly captivate the depths of meanings that some people don't come across. I believe that your religion shouldn't be the exact perspectives as it was thousands of years ago. I believe that it should be altered to suit the society that we live in. I choose to interpret my religion through my own eyes, and in some forms it does come with a collision with my way of living, as my family attends church, yet I don't, only when necessary. After conducting the primary research on the meaning of life, I had to compare their conclusions to secondary sources that summarize gathered data on the Catholic perception of life. The information mentions: the Catholic perspective when reflecting this boundless question bases its central beliefs from the teachings of Jesus derived in the New Testament. Corinthians 8:28 promises us this. This defines how God has a purpose for us, and we have been created to be involved in that purpose for a purpose. And Jesus tells us that our purpose is to love and serve God as well as others. As we consist of diverse denominations of Christians, the process of appropriating salvation through Christ and sustaining a relationship with God rely on the faith placed into Christ in addition to the gospel as the fundamental starting point. Salvation through faith in God is found in Ephesians. The gospel maintains this belief, the belief that through this barrier that sin is created between man and God is destroyed. Catholicism's perspective is better expressed through the principle and foundation of St. Ignatius of Loyola. An alternative Christian theological discussion interprets Jesus as revealing the purpose of life is to glorify our compassionate response to human suffering. Therefore, it is our position to be justified by the belief in the sacrifice of Jesus' death on the cross. This information consists of similarities with my primary research through both sources classifying that the meaning of life through a Catholic perspective is about devoting yourself to God and incorporating Him in your lifestyle actions. I can summarize my findings and conclude that the meaning of life is still a debated topic throughout our society today. And what I believe most individuals desire is the feeling of being happy and being surrounded by happiness. My interviewee's ideas about the company of your family differ from the secondary sources, as the Catholic perspective expresses that only your duty on this earth is to ensure that you respect God and His actions. I agree with my third interview's perspective that times have changed, therefore the Catholic religion must change in order to relate to more people in our society. So when we ask ourselves about the meaning of life, I believe that the meaning of life will always remain an unclosed question. However, with the investigation that I've carried out today, I've gathered a local and global viewpoint regarding this topic. The meaning of life is based on being happy, whether or not that is influenced through a family, religion, or lifestyle. We as individuals perceive it differently. To summarize my findings, there were no challenges during my investigation, only the emotional impact it made on one of my interviewees, as the topic is considered a very rough aspect of their life through the course of their challenges they have experienced over time. A surprise that I had encountered was that the Catholic perspective of the meaning of life was entirely based on the devotion you place in God, and that no other aspect or opinion on the meaning of life meant anything. This is shown through my first two interviews, as their perspective on the meaning of life was based on being raised as a Christian, whereas my third interviewee had disagreed and placed his judgment through the influence of his own encounters.